Good day, good day, everybody. Yay! Good day, good day, good day again. I want to say thank you so much for at least being here and awake with me for one quick session at All for Success. And that is with an X because you never know what else I'll throw in here. Listen. Please take my, I guess you can call it a grouping of apologies for or explanations. It has been a minute since I have been online. I think the last time I chimed in on anything Sussex support related was probably right after Harry's the verdict or I guess the outcome of his court case with, I believe, the appeal for that latest case. Now, listen, that had absolutely nothing to do with why I had not been posting for a minute. I had a combination of travel plans slash work plans slash family obligations, and they all kept coming back to back throughout the weekends, which I normally do my little broadcast on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. And it was as if every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, either I was too late getting to something or too early, or I needed to be somewhere else. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to take a short break. But I hope you guys forgive me a little bit. And this is really like a quick intro letting you know that I am going to really work hard at trying to be back on schedule, maybe early Saturday or early Sunday. So I'm going to try to get back to my weekend schedule. Unless you all prefer a little bit of a short chat during the week. Now, if you like that better, then I might add that in. I'm also going to be working on a few a few things that are YouTube related as far as working on the platform itself, working on the channel. I'm getting a little bit more information and a little bit more practice about how to do this and maybe move towards being a little bit more formal about it. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet because I'm actually doing most of this as a hobby. So thank you all who have time to chime in and be here. Please leave me a comment or two, especially if you have some, I would call it constructive criticism or some ideas. I would love to hear your feedback. Now, with that said, let me reintroduce people who may not know what this channel is. This is All for Success. This is a Sussex friendly space. I am a total supporter of all things Harry and Meghan, Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I am one of those die-hard fans who believe that these two people are in love and that these two people are intending to work hard to be better people and to give the world the best of them. That is what I believe. I hope you believe that too. I'm also one of those people who, as I look at what's happening around them in the rest of the world, let's say, I think I see patterns. I see patterns of conflict. I see those who throw up roadblocks. I see a wave of opposition. And when I see these things, like many people on YouTube and on many other types of media platforms over the years, we are aware that there is a concerted effort to try and bring them down, both in spirit and in life, to try and hold them back from being achievers in the way they choose to move. I, on the other hand, like to support them. I believe in them as a couple, whether they have a perfect life or a non-perfect life. I want to see them do well. Why? Because I want all of us to do well. Okay? So why would I not try to promote and uplift those who are really working to do that? Right? So I hope you agree with that a little bit and can understand that's where I'm coming from in my support of the Sussex family. It doesn't mean that I dislike anyone else in particular, except for those who purposefully try to destroy the hard work, the labor, and the progression of others. Those people definitely have a negative check mark from me because I don't like that. Okay, so with that being said, for those of you who enjoy YouTube, who like to spend some time on YouTube, and you have a chance to sit back and relax, I know I'm here in the evening, but if you're still a coffee drinker or tea drinker, or you just want to have a moment to sit and relax, this is a great time. Make that coffee, get yourself a moment to just kick your feet up, listen to what I got going on, unless, of course, you're out walking, biking, stretching, or doing some other type of routine. I always encourage that. And for those of you who are working out, please feel free to let me know what you're doing in your fantastic workout. I would love to join in. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to pull up my little slide deck here. And like I said, feel free to drop any comments or whatever in the chat. I would love to know, especially if you have some great tips and things for me. And so I'm going to say good morning as I am digging around for my slides. So hang on one second. Oh my goodness. Well, good afternoon, Connie Balmer. Thank you for being here. You know, I recognize you all as the super chatters. I understand you all are the squatty superstars. So I am so honored to see that you are here in my chat. It is unbelievable. And I hope I say or encourage you to come back every time you see me on. I just enjoy so much seeing the super chatters in my chat. It is fantastic. It's so great. Let's see who else is here. We have Rosa Roberts who says, good evening. Hoping you are having a blessed evening. Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing the best that I can. Okay. Thank you. And the same for you. Be blessed at every moment that you can be. We need to do that. It is wonderful. Also here, King for Concepts. Hey girl, glad to see you back online. And I am glad to see you. You just don't know how it's been a minute, but it may have been a break that I needed. Also, Joyce Anderson says, good Monday evening to you. All for success and everyone. I love the hearts. Welcome back. I have missed you. You are so kind. I'm so glad, and I hope that you feel like joining in from time to time whenever you see me online. And I am so glad I see you here too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's see if these slides will come up. As I said before, listen, hey, I am coming at my support of the Sussex family as a parent of adult children. This is why it sticks out to me so much. And I always let people know that because, of course, I'm sure you cannot tell by my youthful voice that I may have had a birthday or two that are racking the numbers up. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, I too am an adult, a parent of adult children, and I know I have children that have boyfriends, and I have daughters and they dated. I have a daughter that's married, and it would be so upsetting to me to know that my child is going through some of these challenges, even though they're an adult, right? Because I am a parent. And so I wouldn't want to see anyone dealing with these things to me which appear to be unnecessary. Now, of course, a lot of things in life are just life. But in this particular case, some things being thrown out, hurled out, and set up have nothing to do with the day-to-day. It has to do with other people and what their issues are. So if you're interested in getting up and getting out and doing a little bit of exercise when you're the parent of adult children, that puts us in a higher range, and we need to keep ourselves moving. I heard someone say on a video, working on an exercise video, something to the effect, motion is lotion. Okay, so I'm going to steal that, and that's going to eventually become my quote. So, with that said, listen, I have been listening to Megan's podcast. It has been quite illuminating for me and quite refreshing. Here's a couple of reasons why. Now, here's the fun part. As I am marching myself closer to my own current retirement age, coming out of the workforce, in the main workforce, let me put it like that, it is really interesting to hear her interviews speaking to women who are either business owners or they are CEOs of various companies and endeavors. They lead nonprofit organizations. And I have to tell you, as I am headed towards retirement, I am also a little bit behind the curve, but I too am thinking about what type of endeavor could I continue to do that would be lucrative, but also, I guess, fulfilling. You know, when you're getting ready to retire, you know you're leaving one career and you may feel like, I don't know what I want to do next. So, again, ladies, if any of you have any thoughts or advice, please drop those things in the chat as well. So that's something we can also talk about on another video, or YouTube. It is a challenge as you move along and you think, would I like to have a business? Would I like to start a business? Or would I like to work with a nonprofit? I have been a member of various organizations that perform community service, similar to some of the things that the Sussex Foundations work with, but it would be a different level to put my energy and focus in those things full time rather than my day-to-day workplace. But though that would be an option for me to work in some type of nonprofit, or what I would call educational or beneficial foundation. And I'm sure there are many. And I find those things really nice. So back to how that comes across on her podcast. The Duchess of Sussex will generally have conversations, and I'm sure you guys have been listening to some of her productions, or at least I hope you have. If you haven't, please try to, because some of them are quite illuminating. The ladies will often speak about things that they had to overcome, or basically a mindset that they had to set forward. And I know if you're anything like I am, you understand. Some days you feel like doing things, and some days you don't. And that is one of the toughest challenges of women in business. And on her podcast, she speaks to several people who are working at a level where they are really moving fast paced. Of course, they are in a different money strata, but it is really interesting how they try to focus on what they're doing and how they overcome some of the hurdles that they are faced with. Now, think about that. I'm just here in my world and I'm just trying to contemplate retirement plus perhaps an endeavor. I have not met the type of challenges. Can you imagine being also fighting in the media and at the level at which they are dealing with some of the things that they're dealing with, but they at the same time they are still trying to move forward in their business endeavors and in their own right, in their own dreams, in their own ambitions. Not to be too ambitious, or what I would call ambitious at the sacrifice of other important things, but an all-encompassing ambition for your entire world, family, and friends, right? And they are pursuing these things while they are meeting some of the challenges that they're meeting. Limonada, the actual casting company that is supporting Megan's endeavor, it is definitely a woman-led business model, because their business model is to try to feature discussions of substance. And I must say, I was truly entertained. And it was really interesting to get some of the insight and some of the encouragement that they give. And I hope that we can all kind of share in that same endeavor, right? I enjoyed it. I definitely am a thumbs up on it. When I'm on the road riding in and out of work or whatever, I throw on some of these podcasts and I really enjoy them. So I hope you get the chance to do that as well. Now, along, okay, now deviate. Let me move over to what's going on in the background of this mad, mad world we're living in. Well, you have the crazy trial of P. Diddy, and I love to refer to this from time to time, even though most people are probably not interested. I am watching the outcome, or rather the play of this in the media, simply because I want to see in comparison how something is approached in the media versus how Harry and Meghan have been handled in the media. So it's not so much the details and the craziness surrounding the actual case as I am watching, are there similarities and are there differences in how these things are being presented, at least by the greater masses of the media? There's the formal media storms, which, if you're flipping around your cable news channels, there's not a lot of information about it. People will talk about it, but it's very matter of fact. But of course, in the YouTube and the social media spaces, things are a bit more salacious, and so in some cases, not reliable. And I just find that interesting, the difference in how these have been displayed and how they're being handled. So there's the Diddy case. Now, I've got to ask you guys, do you remember? I'm going to see if I can pull up a clip. Let me see if I can pull this up. I want you all to tell me what happened to this person. Listen up for a second, okay? So let me see if this will play for you. Where is this person?
Which is one of the ways in which Centrevale raised a lot of money. What happened?
We were so fortunate to have the opportunity to do a polo challenge in Miami last year in April. We had a very generous family that was happy for us to use their polo grounds at a material discount. And then about a month before the event was about to take place, Prince Harry called the team and said, "I'm doing a Netflix show, and I would love to bring a camera crew so that I can include some footage in this show." And so the team called me and tell me, "Oh, Prince Harry's made this request, so we're doing the things." I said, "You can't be doing the things without seeking consent from the property owners, the sponsors, all the guests. Nobody signed up into being on a Netflix show." And so we have this discussion about the need to talk to everybody. We come up with draft agreements. And of course, the venue owner.
Which is one of the ways.
Can anybody tell me what happened to this person? Has anyone seen this person? Do we need to do a Where's Waldo for this individual? And like I said, it's been a minute, right? So what happened to their posts of the particular organizations they were affiliated with in Houston, Texas. What happened to them being listed as the titled person in charge of the particular of the charity in Lesotho? What happened to their information that was online and on LinkedIn? Can anyone explain? Okay, because you see, this is what I'm talking about here in our universe. I am keeping my eye on these things that I believe people think that we have forgotten about, right? No one has forgotten about that. That was just what, a couple of months ago. So, what is going on there? And you better believe I'm going to keep my finger on the pulse of what's happening with that. Because that type of bizarre, out of the blue treachery, which seemed to coincide with his court case. Now, maybe it's other things, but you see what I mean? That is definitely a view of how they are handled differently, right? Now, you have this person, they show up and they just jump on screen and they make all these accusations, and now all of a sudden, no support for that person, no big splash. Unless they're going to write a memoir, it's as if all of a sudden their concern, their discussion, and everything that they brought up has kind of quietly dissipated. So we're going to just stand by because you know it's going to come back. You know that there is going to be some sort of reversal in this information. But this is what I'm talking about. You see, the media in that realm, or the organization behind what was propagated against the Sussex family, that machine doesn't know what to do with itself. It is also running in a situation where it's imploding on itself. So again, I know these things are basically unrelated, they're untethered, but let's look at what about them is strikingly similar. You have an entire empire involved in the Diddy trial, and it was the empire of the music industry. This individual has performed and operated within this industry for more than 30 years in the manner in which they've been operating. And look how long it took for any type of exposure, and look at the mistakes that had to be made to bring about this exposure, which has let us all know that much has been hidden. So now turn your attention to the world across the Atlantic in the greater UK. Here is an entire feature, an entire operation, which is thus the royal firm/family. And this entire monarchy has for centuries operated in a manner hidden, with things under the cover, that has kept people believing a certain presentation, much like the music industry, glamour and glitz, right? But now that you've peeled off a couple of covers, a couple of layers, you realize that the glamour and the glitz is not all that is involved in this particular environment. And it's the same across that water. And this individual, like this disappearing individual, that was trying their best to make insinuations that the person most problematic to this organization was the very person behind its creation. Right? You see, this is the pattern of using and utilizing the talent of others, just like the music industry. You grow on the talent of someone else. You climb up on the shoulders of others. This was and has been the monarchy. It survives on the will of the people, the talent, the time, and the hard work, labor of nations, right? That is how they have exceeded all types of dreams and wishes. Music industry, flip side, grooming people who have talent, utilizing other people's skills, and then, of course, their time, their talent, their abilities to get things done. And those people who are benefiting from that and just basically using other people up. So you see the similarity in that situation as it is mirrored, in a sense, with this real life drama going on in the music industry. It's crazy, but that is how often we miss the similarities of certain structures in this world. But these are the things that are common, the commonalities. So I always love to show that Harry and Meghan, and the photos that I have, I find them where they're hugging and kissing and running along the beach side, because those are my favorites. Those are my absolute favorites, because that's what they're supposed to be doing, enjoying life and having fun, right? And that is what we want from them. So what am I going to do, folks? I am going to hang out and stand back and wait for her next episodes to fall out of her show, as ever, because I can't wait to see more. I still have not made that fish in the salt, but I'm definitely going to try to cook that before her next show. I am so excited about it. Now listen, I've told you guys, I promised you guys, I wasn't going to be here long because I was just basically here goofing off and letting you know I'm trying to gather my wits and get back to my schedule. But I do want to leave you with these fun things and these fun thoughts to kind of look at how some of these things are happening. As I am also encouraging each of us to try to stay hopeful and to try to keep each other uplifted. Because I understand many of us are going through some very difficult thoughts and difficult things on the day to day. So try not to have yourself on too much of a heavy diet of some of the negative things that you're seeing in and around the news. Try your best, try your best to give things a moment or two to settle back down and to play out. And at the very, very least, do your best to maintain your day-to-day posture and good habits and try to stay upbeat, even amidst difficulties. So I want to make sure that you keep that in mind and just try to keep charging forward, okay? Let's not get too far or buried down. But here, let's see if we got anybody else that's throwing up some stuff in the chats before I shift over and show you maybe one or two more things real quick. Oh, okay. I see one more comment here. It says Joyce Anderson that she has watched the podcast several times, and then she also binge watches to give her numbers. Well, that's a great idea. I do flip back and forth to as ever, but that because I need that recipe and I've got to figure this out, when or how to do that fish. I keep looking at it and I'm like, I've got to try that. So I'm going to be like you and start watching it from time to time. Especially I love to have things on in the background when I'm in the kitchen, just to hear some of the information as I'm standing there doing my own cooking. But I'm not doing any heavy cooking like that. So I'm with you, Joyce Anderson. Let's do that. Now listen, here's something else that gave the UK media, this is very recent, that almost sent them into a tailspin because, as always, their first approach is to come out in the real world and try to blast everything Harry and Meghan does. Remember, their initial response is to jump on the news, try to get clicks and views, by using Harry and Meghan, and to get clicks and views by telling everyone that whatever Harry and Meghan does, it's horrible, it's a nightmare, it's wrong. Remember, that is their go-to. So check this out.
Markle throwing it back in more ways than one as she celebrates Princess Lilibet's 4th birthday. I go, but I'm still doing moves like Beyonce. Yeah, I said I'm pregnant, get the child support and pay my rent. Meghan sharing this never-before-seen video from the hospital in 2021. At the time, Lily was apparently a week overdue, and Meg explains when the spicy food, all the walking, and acupuncture didn't work, there was only one thing left to do. Husband Harry seemed happy to join the dance party.
Can you think of anything more harmless than that? I mean, of course, I don't think I could have done those kind of moves if I was actually in labor, but I think everyone should definitely give it a try. Okay? Now, for most of us who have had any pregnancies, especially labor, during that particular phase of labor, if you are physically capable of either walking around or moving around, if you can keep your wits about you, that is not a negative thing. It definitely will move labor and delivery along, right? And I think that is what's the beauty of many, many women beginning to understand and work with the old-fashioned midwives and doulas. Because the old ways, right? Some of those old ways of women having babies, they used to have birthing chairs and all kinds of things because they knew that not necessarily being on your back was going to be very workable for many women having children. A lot of people have babies and I mean, when you think about some of these natural procedures, they're in swimming pools. People have babies standing up. Some people actually bend their knees and go into labor if they're having a natural birth. It's amazing what the human body will do on its own in labor and delivery, right? But we've become so saturated with methods and processes that are really unnatural, but they have become common, and we think that's kind of the way to go. And so it's often looked down upon if you're doing anything that's very natural. And so that dance of her kind of paying honor to the little girl Lilibet's birthday 4 years ago, I thought that was absolutely adorable. But how does the UK media perceive anything that would be adorable? Well, they have their various issues with whether or not she should have shown it, or maybe she should not have shared it. You know, it's either how dare she share it, or they go the opposite direction and yell because she didn't share it. Why? Because they have a mental problem. There is something wrong with these people. And now the entire world knows it. Okay? They cannot hide that from anyone, that they are indeed mentally unbalanced. Okay? So listen, as we get ready to slow it down and wrap it up, I want to tell you guys again, thank you guys for joining in. And I told you I'd keep it short, and that's because I do plan to come back again either this week or on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm hoping that you will listen in again, and I'll try to be a little bit more polished. I have pulled up a couple of scripture that I always like to rely on. And no, I am not in a cult. I'm not asking you to be in a cult. And I want you to know I'm not trying to hustle you in any way. I just like to point out scripture because from my growing up, often these things kind of make me think about how things are happening in the world. So I'll just read them to you. You tell me what you think. Okay, so John 16:13 states, "But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own. He will speak only what he hears, and he will tell you what is yet to come." And that's a very important scripture because it's talking about hearing what is the truth. Okay? As you look around in the world we are in today, you are often hearing things that are absolutely false. But it is going to take a very strong mind. It's going to take a very strong mind from people to determine what is real and true and what is not. Because there's a lot out here that is being advertised to us, and it is not real, and it is definitely not true. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, Luke 12, 2nd through 3rd, is talking about a particular event. Says, "Meanwhile, when a crowd of many thousands had gathered, so that they were trampling on one another, Jesus began to speak first to his disciples, and he said, 'Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What you have said in the dark will be heard in the daylight, and what you have whispered in the ear in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from the rooftops.'" What is being talked about in this particular case is that there were a group of people that were seen in a leadership perspective, but that they indeed were hypocritical, that you couldn't believe the things that they pumped up. They did that. They pumped you up to hear the yeast, right? The things that they allowed to grow and have you believe. He said, don't believe that. There's hypocrisy there. And then he goes further on to let you know that, eventually things are going to come out. Secrets that people were trying to hide, they're going to trickle out. And if you look not just here in our realm where we operate, again, back to the P. Diddy trial, there are things being discussed there that he probably thought no one would ever say out loud. But here it is being talked about on live television, right? And the same is happening in the UK forum amongst the royal family / firm. This situation between Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, versus the royal family at large, it is only going to exemplify what is being covered up in the background. And people are starting to talk about it, right? Things are rolling out from underneath the curtain, and folks are beginning to talk about it. It cannot hide forever, right? So I want you all to keep those scriptures in mind. You may see those again. Sometimes they're just my favorites, and those are the ones that come to my mind. So listen, folks, I'm not going to keep you all day and all night, but remember, stay focused, stay positive, and keep on winning, right? Now give yourselves an applause. You all soon.